Okay, welcome, Gary. Welcome to GOLDINVEST. This is our first interview. A pleasure to have you here, especially as Brixton has just come out with a new set of drill results on its Thorn-Projekt, which is towards the north of what's called the Golden Triangle. I'd like you to give us a little bit of background on the entire project before we dive into the latest results. Why don't you get started here?
Okay. Well, hey, Sven, and thanks for having me. A little background on the project. I mean, the Thorn-Projekt was Brixton's listing property in 2010, and so we've been working at this target for quite some time. And you know, it's morphed since we acquired the project as an early option in 2010. In 2013, we actually acquired 100% ownership of it. Mm-hmm. And then over the years, you know, we've been doing work expanding the trend. And what we see there now is what we're calling a mega trend. It's an 80-kilometer northwest-southeast trending mineralized belt, if you will. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty evident to us that it's a Porphyr-Distrikt.
Yes.
We believe we have several porphyry centers, and we're just working through that systematically exploration to identify, you know, the next targets, and we're continuing to work up the targets on the project.
Thank you. I think if I recall it correctly, there's over 50,000 meters of drilling meanwhile done on the project, correct? Was that mostly done by Brixton, or did you inherit most of it?
There's a good amount of that was inherited. I would say probably 2/3 of that is probably Brixton drilling.
Yes.
And the rest was, you know, it's been worked. I mean, I think the first drill hole was in here probably in the 1960s.
Oh, yeah.
It was originally discovered in the early 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a whole list of companies like Chevron, Caminco, Kenco. These are the early pioneers up here that did a lot of work in this region. But generally speaking, I would say, even though that sounds like a lot of meters, and it is a good amount of meters, it's spread out over quite a number of targets. It's not just one target area. So you know, I guess that's the you know, the blessing and the curse, if you will, on the project is that we've identified 14 gold, silver, copper targets on the property. And you know, what's exciting about it for us is that every season we continue to find something new.
Yes.
And this last season was no exception, notwithstanding these big holes that we drilled.
Yeah, yeah.
But also up on the Trapper area where we spend a good amount of time, we're finding brand new copper showings at surface that have never been sampled.
Yeah.
And in good grade. So we're excited about the scale and scope of the project has grown dramatically, but so is the opportunity.
Yes.
And that's why we continue to really focus on this as our flagship project. Just the sheer you know, scale and scope and just what we're seeing. Like I say, we continue to find new areas of interest. So I think the best is in front of us. You know, it is a part of the challenge I think the project has is, you know, it's relatively remote. There is road access down to the Golden Bear mine area now. Mm-hmm. Our land expands down around past the Golden Bear mine.
Yes.
But it's an inactive road currently. But you know, we're making improvements on the infrastructure. We've got a well-established camp and a 1,000-meter airstrip at the main Thorn camp. So you can actually fly into Whitehorse, Yukon, and you could be on the property within an hour from Whitehorse. So you know, it's actually pretty easy to get to. And I think that road access will come as we advance, you know, into sort of mine development stage.
So let's dive into the most recent results. Notably, two very quite spectacularly deep drill holes. The one was almost well, almost 1,300 meter deep. The other one right beside was next to 1,200 meter deep. And those are, you know, exceptional holes for a junior mining company, pretty bold holes. And I think you need to explain why you drilled them, what the scope was, what did you try to reach with those holes, and if you find the results, if the results really confirmed what you wanted to show.
Sure. I mean, it's like I say, it's been many years since we've been working on this project. One of the targets that we have is actually a couple of targets, and this is an area we're calling the Camp Creek Corridor.
Yes.
And it's actually made up of several shallow targets. One being Talisker, which was drilled in 2004. Glenfiddich, as well, started to be drilled around that time. And then another zone called the Olban Breccia zone, where we've had some really good success. I mean, in 2011, we put out a hole 95 meters of 900 grams silver equivalent from surface on the Olban. So that's pretty exciting. So we drilled some more holes there, and we found that we're starting to see some increased copper mineralization as we went further down into the system. And you know, I think there was about a 30-meter interval of over 1% copper within one of the deeper holes at the Olban. And so that, and then in 2013, there was a hole that was drilled in the Glenfiddich zone. This is all part of the Camp Creek Corridor. And we hit the zone of massive sulfide, energite, high sulfidation mineralogy. And that was 2.2 meters of 10% copper, with very high silver numbers. And that looked like some of the veins that they're seeing at some of these well-known big copper mines. And what they did is they drilled under these high sulfidation veins at depth to get into the porphyry. So these veins and this high sulfidation mineralogy that we're seeing at surface is a surface expression of a deeper porphyry. And so we thought, well, where's the porphyry? It's down there somewhere.
Yes.
In 2019, we drilled deeper into the Olban Breccia. We drilled 829 meters, which at 2019 was the deepest hole. And starting at about 100 meters, we hit 550 meters over 1% copper equivalent.
Okay.
So that, and then the other thing that we saw in there is within that diatreme breccia zone, we saw fragments within the diatreme that were mineralized porphyry fragments that we hadn't seen before. So those fragments were plucked from or pulled from the porphyry. So we have all these indications that there's got to be a porphyry down here somewhere. But, you know, being, like you say, those are deep holes for a junior. And, you know, we were gun shy. And even last year, it's still, when you're at 1,200, 1,300 meters, those are kind of painful holes to drill because they're slow going when you get down there. But it's pretty clear now that we've pushed down to that 1,200-1,300 meter zone that we're getting into porphyry. In fact, the porphyry mineralization starts at about 300 to 400 meters depth.
Yes.
But it really doesn't start to get good until about 800 meters is where the copper really starts to pick up, and we see more copper dominant minerals than pyrite at those depths. And those two holes, 183 and 184, that were drilled this year, they were about 300 meters apart. So the reason that we're interested in this is because the type of system that we have is that we believe, if you look at this year, a company called Philo Mining came out with a hole. It was 880 meters, I think, of 1.8% copper equivalent. So we believe that this kind of system can generate those kind of results. And what we're looking for in the next season of drilling is we're gonna go down, use the existing hole, whether it's 184 or one close by to it, use it, we're calling like a mother hole. So use that, you go down the hole and you wedge off, you kick off in a directional drill, starting at about, say, 800 meters depth or something. And so you're gonna be drilling, you're gonna start drilling in, you know, what we came up as an equivalent was 0.7 copper. So we can start the drilling at 0.7 copper, not having to drill through, you know, 700-800 meters of lower grade material. Okay,
so that's more like a technology that's being used by the oil industry, wedging off. Meanwhile,
I mean, they're using it in mining, but you know, directional drilling has been common in oil and gas for a long time. But They call them wedges. It's a pretty simple tool. It's just a way of kicking off the drill into the drill string into a different orientation.
Yeah, you mentioned those two holes, and they're both deep holes, and both show towards the bottom 800 meters. In fact, yeah. they show consistent mineralization. I think the average grade on the one, correct me if I'm wrong, was 0.4% copper equivalent over the entire 800 meters or something. And the other one looked pretty much the same, and it was, as you say, 300 meters apart. So that obviously requires to fill in maybe the gap, or are you still? Would you rather say you're trying to really still reach the higher grade core of this porphyry?
Yeah, that's the objective. I mean, put it this way, the bottom 300 or 400 meters of these two holes were very rich. Like we're getting 0.7 copper over equivalent, 0.7 copper equivalent over 318 meters in the bottom of the hole. And I think what's important to note to the listeners is that both these holes ended in porphyry mineralization. Yes. And if you look at the histogram of the hole, not only do they end in mineralization, the grades were increasing down hole. So the question for us is, do we just go deeper, or do we go laterally into another orientation? And I suspect we're going to try and do both. And the goal is to tap the core of this system. Why? Because the core of the porphyry system is enriched, and so we would expect to get much higher grades. My personal expectation would be, drilling 1,000 meters of 1 to 2% copper equivalent. Okay, so that's a big statement, and it's a big goal, but we think we have the kind of system that can generate that. Time will tell. But if we did do that, then we're not going to be sitting at the $30 million market cap, which we are today. We would expect to be much higher, and that's our objective. That's our goal here. Yeah. So we're looking at this large scale block cave potential underground porphyry. That's the prize here. And keep in mind, this is exciting for us. And because really, if you look at it, there's only 3 holes that have been drilled below 1,000 meters. Yeah. But it's a pretty significant, I think, discovery, and certainly keep an eye on the results. And this year we spent about half of our time on the Camp Creek porphyry, and the other half of our season was focused on the Trapper gold target, which is about 6 kilometers away on strike. Yeah. And those we still have a bunch of results, 15 drill holes that are pending from that target. And yes, the 2 targets are relatively close on nearby. So how how deep were the drill holes on the Trapper one? They didn't go quite as deep, did they? No, that was our first drilling campaign at the Trapper program. Yeah. We acquired that from Kodiak Copper last year. All right. So this is our first program. We drilled 15 holes, 3,100 meters, and they were between 100 and 300 meters depth. Okay, so those are still pending and potentially could be released before the year end, I guess. Yeah, we're anticipating. We said somewhere in our last release, we said potentially as early as mid-November, and then that's going to continue on, till basically till the balance of the year. Okay, sounds good. Obviously, because it's high north, is there a seasonality here? Obviously, in the way you can approach this. Yeah, we typically operate here. We were starting to drill in this season. By the end of May, we were actually turning to drill. Yeah. So end of May, early June to October. There's snow on the ground. I think parts of the project. Okay. We'll say one thing though is that the Camp Creek target just happens to be the lowest elevation target, and it's the one closest to the main camp. So, there is potential to operate all year round. Okay. I mean, we do have a well-established airstrip. It'd be a matter of just, removing snow, keeping the airstrip clear. And when we're drilling these deep holes, you're not really moving around. You've got the drill set up there. Yeah. So there is potential to do some all around, all season around. But I would say some of these other targets when you got a lot of snow and not so much.
Okay, for a junior, always after a drill season is before the next drill season. So what are you anticipating for next season then? You already indicated you want to drill into the guts of the system with probably 1 or 2 more deep holes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it really comes down to the budget. And that's something that we're, in discussions with various groups about potential next round of funding for that.
Yep.
I guess if I had a wish list, yeah, I would be drilling, having 1 drill turning at Camp Creek all next summer. And then let's see how the results shake out for, for the trapper target. We're pretty encouraged by what we saw in the drill core. We'll see what the assays say, but I would suspect there'd be some additional drilling at the trapper gold target.
Yeah.
Again, because we found good gold counts and visible gold at surface, and also a couple of new copper gold showings close by to where we were drilling at the trapper target. So, and then we have another target called the Matlab Target, which another project that we acquired from Stahini last year. That's quite encouraging as well. We're seeing, classic porphyry style, copper gold rich mineralization at surface. Basically the kind of stuff that we're trying to find deep at Camp Creek, we're finding at surface at the Matlab Target. But it's quite early days there, and we need to get a lot more boots on the ground to figure out where we're going to put those first few holes there. But I think that's a potential new discovery for us that we haven't got to yet, but hopefully in the next season or 2, we can put some decent holes in there. Those ones don't have to be deep. We can drill shallow holes on that target.
Okay. Anyways, I think still Brixton is a good point in case to say that the low-hanging fruit in the copper has been harvested. You now need to really look deeper and obviously also be taking more effort and more risk to actually find those big systems. I think, would you agree there?
I would say it's a mixed bag. I mean, I would say given the location of the project, it hasn't seen, even though we're generating really good results, it's still relatively early stage in that it hasn't seen a lot of exploration. So I think there's a good potential, obviously, for the deep target, but also at surface mineralization that we're continuing to find on a regular basis. So I think it's something to keep an eye on. We're starting to flesh out some of these targets, and some of these are brand new areas that we found. Like this year, we've got a couple of new copper showings. So it's really a copper gold. I think it's an emerging copper gold district that, with healthy budgets, I think will continue to unlock the value there.
Okay, Gary, I think that's a good first summary. We need to follow up. I look forward to the next set of results. And maybe we should have another, conversation then to wrap it up. Also looking forward to the next round of funding and what you're planning to do there.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. Maybe sometime after we get a few of those trapper results out, I think it'd be worth having another chat.
Let's do that, Gary. Thanks so much. Have a good time.
Thank you. Ciao. Appreciate it. Take care, Sven. Bye now.
Ciao.